Hi, everyone. My name is Hayla Alawi, and on behalf of Atmosphere Press, I am so pleased to welcome you to today's live author reading of new fiction. Today, we're going to be hearing from Richard Van Vleet reading from Payback, which was released on June 18th, and David A. Collier reading from Earth's Ecocide, Extinction 3147, released on October 14th. Both authors' books can be purchased from online retailers and from select bookstores. And of course, the books can be ordered from Atmosphere Press's website. That's atmospherepress.com/books. And I'll also put the links to both books in the chat for everybody. At the end of today's event, we are going to have time for audience questions. So if you have a particular question you'd like to ask either or both of our authors, go ahead and type those in the chat and I'll make sure they get asked. Please do stay muted for the duration of the event, but feel free to use the chat for praise and comments as well as questions. And one last note is that we at Atmosphere Press appreciate your support today and always. If you have a manuscript of your own, we would love to read it, so submit your work today to books@atmospherepress.com. Again, thank you so much for tuning in and supporting Van and David today. We're going to start off with our first reader, who is Richard Van Vleet. Richard is a Marine Corps veteran, private pilot, actor, teacher, director, both on stage and on screen, screenwriter, and novelist. He has appeared in over 72 nighttime television series and movies and was nominated twice for an Emmy for his work on All My Children, where he spent over 13 years and appeared several years on The Guiding Light. Judge Me Not, a movie he wrote, directed, and starred in, won a Best Picture award. Richard lives now on a sailboat in California. Today we'll be hearing him read from Payback, in which Ian Martin, owner of Martin's Investigation Security and Bond Enforcement Agency, was originally hired to investigate a possibly sinister husband. But as the case evolves and soon a second brutal case develops, Ian and his crew find themselves in a race against time to uncover the identity of a deadly criminal. All right, Van, the virtual podium is yours.
So I should start reading again, right? I'll give you an update on where this starts. Megan Meklanova is one of his agents and works for him, and she has just come back from surveillance on a person that on an adulterer. The wife is asked to find out if her husband is having an affair. Ian was about to remove his phone to call Megan when she stepped into the office. She avoided making eye contact with Ian and looked across the small office at the desk of the other members of Ian's team. She wiped her face with her hands and finally turned to Ian and looked at him. But she didn't say anything. Looked at him with sadness and regret in her eyes. Is something wrong? Ian asked. Megan dropped her head and moved it slowly back and forth as she was debating to speak. Then in a whisper, she said, I don't know if I can do this anymore, Ian. Why? What happened? Ian asked. It took a while before she responded, and when she did, she addressed the floor. I followed Harold from the bank to Telfeathers, where he followed a woman in a car to Motel 6 off of Auto Drive Road. But it turned out to be a girl who looked like she was 15 or 16 years old. She had long, waist-length blonde hair, just like my mom, just like me and my sister. She glanced at him for a moment, then looked back at the floor. She looked so young and innocent, and she looked at him, and he saw anger flare in her wet eyes. He sodomized her. That's what happened. That's what that bastard did to her. I could see the pain and tears in the girl's eyes when he was assaulting her. I captured the whole thing on video, and it's on close up. You should have seen the expression on Harold's face. The son of a bitch was smiling. Her eyes blared with a mixture of pain and hate. He knew the girl was screaming for him to stop through a tie that had been crossed over her mouth, but he ignored her cries. I wanted to shoot the arrogant bastard. If I had a gun, I probably would have. She dropped her eyes contact and stared at the floor. Ian shoved himself from his chair, slowly crossed to her, knelt next to her chair, and placed his hand on her forearm. Megan lifted her head and, with pain etched on her face, finally made eye contact with Ian. Oh God, it was like looking at myself or my sister when I saw what he was doing to her. I'm sorry, Megan, but you have to stop thinking about what happened to you and your sister. It wasn't either one of your faults. You were both victims of human traffickers, and you had no control over your lives. You did what you had to do to survive. It's as simple as that. The woman who met Harold obviously didn't expect him to do what he did, but she was a willing participant. Look, I know you care about people. That's why I hired you. And if that girl is as young as you think she is, you can help her by exposing Harold for what he is. If the girl is underage, we can help send him to prison for having sex with an underage girl and not just exposing him as an adulterer. Megan sniffed, let out a trembling breath, slowly nodded, looked at him through tears that had puddled on the bottom of her lashes, and searched his eyes. She wiped her bottom lashes with her fingers to dislodge the tears and said in a low voice, "If he tries to do something to me, can I shoot him?" Ian chuckled, squeezed her arm, and said, "Yes, you have my permission to shoot him if he tries to do something to you." That's the end of the passage. Oh boy.
Thank you so much, Van. Reading next today is David Collier. David earned his PhD from The Ohio State University and for 41 years taught all levels of students as well as participants in executive programs within the business schools of Duke University, the University of Virginia, The Ohio State University, Florida Gulf Coast University, and the University of Warwick in the United Kingdom. His research has attracted over 37,000 reads and 4,000 citations. After decades of authoring award-winning research articles, business cases, and 5 college textbooks, he wanted a new challenge, writing novels that make a difference. David is the author of a science fiction series. You can learn more at www.theentity.us, Earth's Ecocide, as well as Romance in My Rambler using the pen name David A. Bourbon. In Earth's Ecocide, Extinction 3147, which is what we'll be hearing from today, humanity's response to climate change created a deep fracture within society. Meanwhile, unregulated artificial intelligence gains strength and waits for the opportune time to take over as the dominant species. Can a weakened humanity band together to save themselves from the threat of extinction? We'll hear more now from David himself. And looks like you'll just need to unmute first, David.
Okay, can you hear me?
All good.
Okay, thank you, thank you. This is the novel, and I might add that several reviews have suggested that it's great for the youth market. There's no sex in this novel, and there's no bad language whatsoever. There is violence, but that's basically it. Okay, I'm going to read 4 excerpts of the novel and try to bring you along as we go. The first one is a note to humanity that I wrote at the very beginning of the novel. And I'm just going to read part of that to you. To humanity. My mission is to inspire people to save humanity from extinction. Humanity is ignoring its #1 priority, species survival. My message is both scientific and spiritual. To do that, we must save the planet's biosphere. We must learn how to protect and nurture Earth's biosphere and be a champion of the human species. Humanity's on and off response to climate change is the first step toward difficult times for humanity, and even possibly extinction. The second mega challenge is the tribal and bickering behavior of humanity itself. The fracture of human society into thousands of disparate and competing tribes weakens humanity's collective response to any challenge. Meanwhile, unregulated or partially regulated artificial intelligence develops, interconnects, and gains strength. It waits for the opportune time to take over Earth as the dominant species. AI is the third mega obstacle that hinders humanity from flourishing. The Earth Ecocide science fiction and fantasy novel series is an adventure-packed and cautionary story of humanity's 1,000-year struggle to save Earth as a habitable planet. Each novel shares a family struggle focusing on coping with these 3 mega challenges. And the 3 challenges, again, are climate change or climate destruction, unregulated AI, and non-cooperating and bickering humans. And those 3 things are converging now. It's much more urgent than folks think. We can't wait 50 or 100 or 1,000 years to fix this, because in my 5 novel series, we won't be here. All right, in chapter 1 is titled Stealing, a short excerpt. Someone must have killed or captured our fuel recovery team, Mayor Ulla Torg said in her underground Ridge City courthouse. Yeah, they should have returned by now, her husband Tal said while clearing his throat. 20 days, their 28-year-old son answered. With no electricity, our ventilation system will stop and we won't be able to breathe. Our only choice would be to escape to Earth's surface and go upside. Upside isn't an option, Tal said. Our bodies will cook in the heat or the Imperium will kill us. Natty 8 was the leader of Region 8. Natty 8, a robot leader, stood for the Imperiums, that's the name of the robot society, the Imperium's North American Initiator of Thought, NAIT, for Region 8. And then that's how I come up with Natty 8. Ridge City is also in Region 8. Natty 8 and his fellow ITs, Initiators of Thought, divided North America into 22 regions. The Imperium viewed humans, the aggressive hunters of past millenniums, as the hunted. Ola paused for a second and said in a defiant tone, "One day we will dominate the upside. We'll take it back. Now we need fuel. The Bliss team must have failed. They have been gone since May the 6th. Her piercing black bionic eyes glared at the family, wondering if they would challenge her conclusion. No one did. And then I moved forward to chapter 11, and we're talking about the last battle of humanity in North America. Attack, Natty 8 yelled. Zet relayed the orders to all the Imperium robot forces. They stood beside the CVX command center on a small hill. 300 meters away, as rays of sunshine were breaking through the clouds, lay the killing field in front of Ridge City's main gate. The humans had shamed Natty 8 before the entire Imperium robot nation, and now he would take his revenge against the human vagrants. The Dominator opened the end of its cylindrical laser weapon. To protect their camera membranes, the Imperium warriors and drones shielded their camera lenses. Row upon row of warriors stayed still as the Dominator moved and the ground shook. As the fusion reactors built up the power needed to annihilate the main gate, the machine emitted a whining guttural sound. Then, with a burst of blinding white light, it melted the first hit of 4 hinges on the gate. The metric ton hinge melted and vaporized, with a few molten blobs dropping to the ground. As the gate fell, a hot blast of air rushed past the warriors, flinging debris in all directions. The same blast of air also knocked down many of the Ridge City residents inside the cave system and the gate. Once the air and dust cleared, it showed a jagged opening in the rock cliff. The opening exposed the last humans in North America to the hazards of the ruthless upside and the ominous Imperium robot army. The gate, once a protector of human civilization, had separated the 2 competing life forms with different values and total different approaches to existence. From their hilltop command center, Nanny 8 and his robot warriors scrutinized the interior of the city with their telescopic cameras. Their view inside showed the courthouse and the surrounding honeycomb buildings, built from the cave floor to the ceiling. It exposed centuries of subterranean city residents living a partial life, an underground life. Natty 8 zoomed in to examine the ragtag human army that now stood in the opening. He could see hundreds of armed humanoids. A few wore cooling vests and heavy clothes to protect their skin from the debris and scalding sun, but they were unprepared for battle. The older humans wore dress clothes. Younger residents wore gym shoes, t-shirts, and shorts. They wore the only clothes they had, having lived in an underground city their entire lives. The humans were carrying handguns, mops, rifles, and brooms. Natty 8 saw no formidable weapons. An awkward silence prevailed, lasting several seconds, while both sides studied their foe. "They're armed with brooms and clubs," Zet said to Natty 8. "The extermination should be fast." "I see their leaders in the front of the group," Natty 8 said. "Yes, they are carrying laser guns and rifles. Do they have light grenades?" "We don't know. Light grenades can blind our warriors' cameras for a time." "Kill this pathetic species," Natty 8 yelled as the Dominator fired and the courthouse burst into flames. The piratic battle had begun. And then just because I wanted to read something, I had a dog in the 3rd novel, and his name is Jax, and his owner is Coda. And Coda's an ex-police officer in Ridge City, which is the underground city. And what happens is the robots capture the last 17 humans in North America and put them in cages in the headquarters in Nashville, Tennessee, in the basement. But they won't take Jax. In fact, the robots don't even recognize Jax as a life form. So Jax is alone. So this is chapter 14, just to read a little bit to you. And it's called The Trip. And this is Jax who's making this trip. Ignoring the objections of Coda, the robot warriors would not take Jax. Jax found himself at their campsite close to the Nolan River Lake Dam. Alone and in the darkness, separation anxiety caused him to shake and vomit. Kodo was gone. Everyone was gone. But where? Meanwhile, Ola, Yacht, Koda, and the 14 children found themselves in cages in Nashville, Tennessee, 160 kilometers from the lake campsite. The Imperium would soon use them for experiments, and then they would either force them into servitude and Imperium amusement or kill them. On an earlier journey, Jack had found his way to Koda's Ridge City apartment after traveling several kilometers. Now the Imperium had destroyed Ridge City and its secret entrance. Jack now has to try to find his loved ones, and they're 160 kilometers away. In survival mode, Jax walks in circles, trying to determine different directions using Earth's magnetic fields. But he didn't know where the Imperial warriors had taken his beloved Koda. At the campsite, Jack tried to use his sense of smell to find Koda, but the scent disappeared after 20 meters. What should he do? Then in the next chapter, Jax does find the humans captured in cages in the basement of the Nashville Imperium robot headquarters. And eventually he is with them. And this is at 3 a.m. in the morning. And this is a short segment. At 3:08 a.m. Friday, Jack stood up with his head high in the air. He twitched his nose and sniffed the electric air. In an instant, an eerie blue light filled the hangar. The Sentry warriors searched for the source, but found none. They wanted to shoot their laser guns, but had no target. Koda rose up, followed by Ola and Yacht. Soon everyone in their cage and in the other cages was standing and scanning the hangar. What caused this blue glow? Robot warriors walked out into the middle of the hangar, searching the area, but also found nothing but a captivating blue light saturating the hangar arena. It filled every nook and cranny. The situation dumbfounded the warriors. Robot software could not find an enemy or a source of the blue light. So their neural networks, artificial neural networks, defaulted into inaction. Dad, I don't see a shadow, Queen said as he moved about, showing the blue light came from all directions. Shadows in the hangar had been an everyday occurrence before the blue light. Yeah, I see, Yacht said. The blue light is everywhere. And at that point, I'm going to stop because I don't want to reveal some of the very surprising things that happen at the end of the novel. And of course, I missed many of the twists and turns as we move through the novel. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you for that reading and for saving some of the potential plot twists in there for us. At this time, we do have time for our audience Q&A. So if anyone has a question for one or both of our authors, go ahead and put that in the chat and I'll make sure it gets asked. I do have a question that is posed for both authors. This question is, both of the stories seem to be inspired by real events or current issues today. What was your greatest challenge, if any, in trying to bring these issues or events to the page? Maybe we could go in reading order. So, Van, do you want to start us off with this one? Oh, it looks like you'll just have to unmute first, Van. So that'll be the audio button. I can see her unmuted actually, but I'm not hearing audio come through now. All right. Maybe David, do you want to start us off with this question and then we can jump back to Van?
Yeah, I haven't. About 20 years ago, I begun to see these three mega trends, and then I began to, the years, begin to outline these novels. In the last 2 weeks, I've done 6 podcasts, so the word's getting out pretty well. Um, and I've enjoyed each one of those podcasts. And we talk about those three mega trends and how they're converging and what humanity needs to do to fix this, or can we fix it? Do we have enough time to fix it? All I would say is humanity's never faced anything like this. We've faced pandemics and famines and a meteorite that supposedly hit the earth 65 million years ago and killed all the dinosaurs and all that. But we've never had to face climate destruction at the rate it's going, AI growing smarter exponentially. One particular top AI founder on the level of Elon Musk said in 15 years, AI will be smarter than all of humanity. So that's what motivated me, and my novels are really a guidepost on what might happen if we just ignore this. Right. So that's why I wrote this novel series. And I was outlining the first novel almost 20 years ago. And I didn't really know exactly what was going to happen in the second and third and fourth novel. And about halfway through the second one, it just became clear where this should go and what it should do. So the 5 novel series, I'm writing to champion a cause. And, that's how I got into this. It's been fun.
That's great to hear. Yeah, I know it's kind of very stressful, obviously, with this kind of subject matter. So at least there's something kind of helpful about that call to action feeling and when you're writing that, especially with the
Well,
whole series.
yeah, Monday I'm doing a podcast for single dads. And what we're going to talk, I know it sounds negative, and it is, and it's scary and threatening. But Monday, for example, I've also done one on sports with sports athletes. But Monday, I'm going to talk about what can dads tell their sons and daughters, and I'm talking about their young daughters, and anywhere from 4 years old, maybe up to 18 or something, about these 3 issues and what could they do to mitigate some of them. And I've got hundreds of actions they could take. So it starts off scary, but I try to put a positive spin on all of it. Now, if we do nothing, I personally believe what is going to happen in these 5 novels is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it comes right back to it's just such that real world feeling and how that kind of really makes it feel
Well,
so immediate.
another analogy is my novel series is very much like Avatar, except the planet is Earth.
Yeah, and that I think that brings that home for us, right?
Right.
Van, do you want to, assuming the audio is working okay now, what about you? What was your greatest challenge, if any, in trying to bring the issues and events of your novel to the fore? Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I guess the audio is still not coming through. Yeah, it might be a permissions issue on the computer. Um, so I'll give you a second to poke around a little bit more with that. In the meantime, we've got a question. This is for also for both authors. So, David, you can start us off with this one too. Have, excuse me, have you ever faced perfectionism in your writing process? And if so, how do you overcome that to further progress in your project, especially if it's halting you?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a great question. And I could do a whole podcast on that. One of the things I did is I researched how many times Stephen King was rejected, how many times Harry Rowling and Harry Potter was rejected, why it was The Lord of the Rings, the book set around for 120 years, et cetera, et cetera. And then I researched proposals when you send queries and proposals out to traditional publishers. And for example, if I'm a no name, if I send a query out and they want to publish my novel, I might be 40th on the list. And then I work my way up to 22nd. And then a dignitary or a great athlete decides they want to write a novel, and boom, I go back down to 28 or 32. Anyway, I'm sort of an entrepreneur and I'm sort of a rebel from the old 60s. And I said, the hell with all that. Okay. So that's why I'm doing independent publishing. Now, I'm going to be really honest with you. I get a development editor once because that's all I can afford. Then I go with somebody like you at Atmosphere Press, which has done a wonderful job, a great job. And, I by then I've usually spent my budget. I'm not going to spend, to get a great publicist $100,000. I'm not going to do that. And I don't even know how to, I'm not a marketer, so I don't even know how to spend. If you gave me 50,000, I wouldn't know how to spend it. So anyway, I just stayed independent and, I can go back and look at this novel. Oh, it's not perfect. After we published it, I go back and see sentences. I go, oh no. And so I look at my own novel and I say, there's at least 100 sentences, maybe 500 sentences I wish I could change. It's not Atmosphere's fault, it's my fault. But I didn't have 5 different developmental editors and 6 great editors, editing this. Oh, and we're going through cycle and cycle. I just went on and published it. And so it's a flawed document in a way. And I understand that, but I'm doing a cause. I want to get my message out. It's out. This is it. And if you read this, it'll wake you up. And so that's why I'm doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of, factors that go into that decision, and it sounds like it's really been something that has been fulfilling the way that you've pursued it. So that's wonderful, of course, to hear. We've got one more question. This is for you specifically, David, in a private chat. Out of all the genres you've written in, what has been your favorite?
Oh, science fiction. I was Sputnik was shot up. I was a young kid, 10 years old or so. Um, I was a science and astronomy buff from that day on. I got an engineering degree. My first degree was engineering, and my favorite course was thermodynamics, which is the study of heat. So I have a little bit of an understanding of if the planet's getting hotter, what's going on here. And so science fiction, Star Trek, it could go on and on. But I love science fiction, and there was no other. I wrote this other novel, Romance in My Rambler, and it's a sort of a 60s high school novel, and it's fun, but it's not my passion. My passion is these 3 causes, trying to help humanity fix them, and my second passion is science fiction.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I love that the science fiction comes to the the front that way, but also because yeah, it really keeps coming back to that. It's doing something. It's communicating a message that we really need to be thinking about. So
Star Trek did that. It
absolutely, yeah.
communicated many great lessons, and we didn't pay any attention to them, but humanity didn't.
Unfortunately. Well, at this time, I just want to say that it was so wonderful to hear both of you bring your voices to life here. So thank you so much to Richard and David for being generous with your time and your words, your thoughts in the Q&A. Thank you for joining us and celebrating these authors together. And of course, don't forget that you can order the books from the links I'll put in the chat one more time for everybody. Please also consider checking out atmospherepress.com to browse our new and forthcoming releases, sign up for our email newsletter, or submit a book manuscript of your own. You can submit your work to books@atmospherepress.com and just let us know that you attended today's event. We'll look forward to hearing from you, but until then, that's it. So have a great rest of your week, everyone.
Thank you, Hyla. Thank
Thank
you.
you.